Yes, hello everyone and welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another edition of Around the WAFL, hot off the heels of another exciting weekend in WAFL football as winter is certainly upon us after what was a wet and overcast weekend of football. We'll recap all the 5 games in round 8 and we'll also cast the Player of the Year votes and much more on today's edition of Around the WAFL. Paul Persick alongside Ethan Roth. Rothy, another big weekend of footy in the books and the season sort of opens up a little bit more.
Plenty of talking points, Paul. Yeah, it was a massive round, even bigger round to come this week. But yeah, so much to discuss and really some close games, barring probably the match of the round that we predicted.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There were a couple of shocks as far as the season is concerned with a couple of surprise results, none more particularly than West Coast beating Claremont. Of course, we'll recap that game and all games in round 8 in just a moment. But first off, here's how you can win big in season 24.
Punt from 50, win. Little too into the game, win. Too cocky, almost a win. Risking it all for the glory, win. It's win-win at the WAFL. Great footy, food and entertainment. Find out more at waffle.com.au.
Win-win WAFL in full swing, and one team that produced a very good win over the weekend was East Fremantle, but they had to do it the hard way against Perth. They only won by 4 points, playing on a neutral ground at Revo Fitness Stadium. Joining us is one of their stars up forward. His name's Cody Leggett. He wears the number 11, and he's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Cody, welcome to the show, mate, and congrats on what was a pretty hard-fought win.
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on the show. Win ugly is the saying that applies sometimes in football. Would it be fair to say that was an ugly win against the Demons in what was very unpredictable conditions?
Yeah, I guess so. Credit to Perth. I thought they played pretty well. But yeah, definitely I think obviously that wasn't our best footy. And we had our challenging moments throughout the game, but I guess got the win in the end.
Sometimes that's all you need to do. Now, interested to know what the feeling around the group is like this week. Could lose a couple of stars to the mid-season draft before the Monday derby, so you'll obviously be happy for them. But yeah, how's the feeling around the group potentially with that affecting you guys?
I guess it's out of our control, so we're not, I guess, focusing on it. I guess they're all, I guess, our mates, and looking forward to obviously, hopefully, they can get drafted. But yeah, we can just focus on what we can control, and that's just preparing for the weekend.
No doubt, a big game on WA Day Monday. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. During that game, of course, a big return in the form of Blaine Boakhurst. Has not played a WAFL game in almost 2 years, and what a return he made. 3 goals from 18 disposals. He played like he never left.
Yeah, he's definitely something special, that's for sure. He's such just raw talent, and so glad to have him in the forward line on the weekend.
And how about your own form, obviously coming back this year versus your old side on the weekend? How do you feel like you're going at the moment?
I struggled a little bit on the weekend, but yeah, just I'm glad to get some consistency with my body this year, obviously following up with last year. Playing a few more games. But yeah, feeling good.
And I understand that you work with the likes of Jaron Carr, potentially another Bulldog at work. What's the feeling like this week, at work? Bit of, feeling in it leading towards the Monday?
Yeah, well, I've got him working hard just to tire him out. Lifting plenty of cartons, that's for sure. But yeah, nothing. We'll probably give each other a bit of crap, but that's a bit it.
Nice little friendly rivalry going on before you take to the field on Monday. But East Fremantle, of course, they've been under pressure since the start of the year. But you're focusing on, getting those wins on the board. But is the challenge far greater as reigning premiers than, challenging for the premiership, going from the Hunters to the Hunted?
Not necessarily. I think inside the 4 walls, I know it's probably a cliche, but we're just focusing on each week. And that's all we can really do. Every week's a grand final. We need every 4 points we can get leading into the end of the year.
And how's the preparation change from Monday game? Obviously, no footy on the weekend, bit of a longer week.
Yeah, training days changed slightly. and some timing. But other than that, not too much really.
It's a great occasion, isn't it, the WA Day Derby, played at Fremantle Oval, big crowd, no matter if it's rain, hail or shine. The players, they don't get overawed by the occasion. You get that feeling it's just another game, but, on one side of your mind, you feel it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, being an East Fremantle supporter as a kid, I used to go to the games, so it's pretty special, to me, because I was one of those kids on the hill kicking the footy around. So I'm sure plenty of other boys would be the same. So, no, we really look forward to it.
Any favourites Freo Derby memories?
Not really. I was probably, as I said, one of those kids kicking the footy around and then would focus on the last 5 minutes if it was a close game. But, yeah, nothing really. I used to go down to the games and watch my, cousin-in-law, Lee and Anthony. But, yeah, that was probably the memory for me.
No, they were certainly good ones, and hopefully you can create more good ones for the Sharks on WA Day Monday. We really appreciate your time, Cody. Great win by the boys over the weekend against the Demons, and may that run continue against the Bulldogs at Freo Oval on Monday.
Go well.
Cheers. Thanks for having us, guys.
That was Cody Leggett, East Fremantle forward, good enough to join us here on Around the Waffle. Always got that week-by-week approach, doesn't he? Not overawed by the occasion, and always wanting to get the job done. And I love a little bit of the banter that he's got with Jaron Carr from South Fremantle at the moment, making him work the extra mile at work so we can tire him out ahead of the Derby. We'll see if that plan works.
Yeah, they're working the pub together. So I know there's a lot of faithful in the pub that they work at as well who are big Waffle fans. So they give it to one or the other depending who loses or wins. So it creates for a bit of more lead into it.
Carr versus Leggett, a bit of pub banter before the Derby. That is something very, very special. Speaking of the Derby, the Waffle Wonderland is back.
Round up your squad and celebrate WA Day at a Waffle Derby this weekend. The Bulldogs take on the reigning premiers, the Sharks, at Fremantle Community Bank Oval from 12:30 this Monday. Tickets at waffle.com.au.
How about it, Ethan? Waffle Wonderland at the Freo Derby. It doesn't get better than that.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's been a success so far. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like on, as I said, probably the biggest day on the Waffle calendar.
No doubt about it. Of course, it's a great concept. And, of course, the last one for the year. And no doubt it is going to go out with a bang. Would love to see it come back in the second half of the year. Maybe in the final series as well, if all bodes well. It's going to be a big, big weekend. Active WA Day round. We will preview that round on Thursday. Ethan Roth will join me as always, but also the great Mark Reddings is going to join us as well for a special WA Day edition. No doubt it's going to be a massive weekend of footy. Let's go to the games, Ethan. Round 8 done and dusted, and we begin with huge upset. West Coast defeating Claremont by 21 points, 13-10, 88 to 9-13, 67. And after this result, it would be fair to say that, this West Coast side, even though we've said all the time that it isn't a properly formed side because of the lack of continuity, players going in and out, when they take the field, they aren't as bad as what we think.
Yeah, it's great. They had a lot of more experience out there as well. Obviously, guys like Matt Flynn, Tyler Brockman came out, but taking nothing away from the regular guys as well. Zane True keeps on keeping on, Andrew Gaff. West Coast, second win of the year. I mean, people thought they weren't going to win a game, so to get 2 on the board, you've got to give credit to them, don't you?
And against finals contenders too, pre-season slated finals contenders, first off the reigning premiers in round 3, that was a really big shock. And then to repeat that against Claremont, another finals contender, usually a very powerful side. And that gives us a sign that West Coast, there's a sign that they're going to be competitive throughout the rest of the year, and they've got a coach that can really deliver those results. Kyle Horsley, former Subiaco Premiership coach. And you talked about those players as well. Zane True and Andrew Gaff racking up the disposals as well. And honestly, what does Zane True have to do to get an AFL game? He is a solid midfielder, maintains good balance, delivers well, racks up the ball, and he's able to do that consistently game by game.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's 7 marks as well. So he's really doing it in all facets of the game, and not sure really what else he has to do, but I think from a Waffle Eagles point of view, they're just happy he's continually there,
Absolutely. I mean? He's continually there in good form, but he's also got the backup as well. When you look at Andrew Gaff, Tyler Brockman, you're also looking at Harry Edwards, and even a couple of players that, were down on form in a couple of weeks. Jason Gilby and, of course, Jai Cully. They were finally able to lift because they were able to play more direct football. While Claremont, it was all ticky-touch-wood, merry-go-round stuff, which you cannot do in WAFL.
Yeah, Tigers were very happy to handball, weren't they? Probably over-handballed the ball a lot, and underestimated the Eagles in that aspect. So there's certainly pressure mounting on the Tigers. We probably thought they might have been back after that statement win over Perth, but unfortunately, one step forward, two steps back sort of
Absolutely.
thing.
2 steps back to go 1 step forward. Unfortunately, Claremont have taken more steps back this year, to be honest, and especially with the players that haven't been performing, the run of injuries. Remember, Declan Mountford is still out of the side. Is he going to return on Saturday against Peel? Oliver Eastland in the ruck, yet the backup. There was not a lot of continuity in that Tigers midfield, especially in the first half. When think about this, the Eagles led 9-2 to 2-8 at half-time. That's a sign that the Eagles were a lot better at disposing of the football. They were more efficient, and they just had more running players. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I guess the end result probably doesn't reflect how much the West Coast should have put them away even more so,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, credit to Claremont. I mean, they came back brilliantly in the second half.
as we'd expect them to do. They would have been fired up, but yeah, I mean, still you got guys like Bolton floating around. Ben Elliott had 25. Callan England 24. I don't think there was any trouble finding the ball necessarily. It was just efficiency
And delivery towards goal.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably lacking that key forward. I know Sam Van Rooyen debuted on the weekend. Really happy for him to get his opportunity. It was a bit quiet, but still had the 10 disposals there. But yeah, probably just lacking like a bona fide key forward. The Claremont Tigers at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly are lacking that forward, especially even with Alexander Manuel, who kicked Niverson on Saturday, the second win of the season, defeating the Tigers by 21 points and providing some good signs for the second half of the year. Another side that's continuing to provide good signs is Peel Thunder. They are continuing to rampage at the top of the WAFL ladder, convincing winners over South Fremantle 12-14, 86-6, 6-42. All set up by a big first half Peel Thunder. They just never look back after halftime.
Yeah, continued domination there. Pat Voss, a machine around the goals, 5 goals.
What a game.
Just showing that he should have been not dropped for the AFL side.
He was stiff to miss out. For the Dockers game on Friday night.
Yeah, and, we circled this one as potentially match of the round, or the one that was going to, say a lot, probably more for South Fremantle, maybe just a bit off the pace. They've won 5 in a row, so we can't be too critical of them, but... Parker and Winder, they probably need to get a bit more backup. Winder just continues, really.
And Parker as well. They're both in great form. Winder 32 disposals. Parker 30 for South Fremantle. But Peel Thunder, again, that centre clearance game, that's one of their biggest attributes for this season. They've got weapons in that centre. Reedy, a dominant weapon in the ruck. You look at Ben Hancock, good midfielder, can play a bit of defence. Neil Erasmus continuing to rack up the disposals. Another 33 for him. Brady Gray, Michael Selwood and company, they are all able to contribute in that midfield rotation.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a bit more a reflection of how good Peel are rather than how poor South Freo are.
They were horrendous in that game, to be honest, but it says more about how good Peel and how balanced the Peel side are.
I think so, yeah. They could lose a couple of the mid-season draft as well. Blight, I think, is probably out of the WA guys the most certain to go. Even Michael Selwood's getting a bit of interest, 21 disposals off that half-back flank. So, yes, Peel Thunder. And, Corey Dragenza, he was first game where he didn't kick multiple goals this year. So, and they still won convincingly.
Absolutely. Again, it's that depth that Peel have got at both ends of the ground. And so you don't have to rely on one key forward. You've got a good scoring spread as well. And you've got Patrick Voss in there back in the Peel side, regained his confidence up forward with 5 goals. So that depth in that forward line, midfield and in defence is absolutely magnificent. All class of the field at the moment. And, the balance between Peel and Freo players, I don't like repeating this every week, but I've got to. The emphasis on that is incredibly important. 10 AFL players, that's better than what they had in 2016-17 when all the players were Dockers listed. It's a greater balance, more continuity amongst the local and Freo players. People may bicker about it all they want, but it's there for a reason.
Yeah, and they get around each other. You speak to anyone and the Dockers guys celebrate just as much as the Peel guys. Pat Voss is a definition of that. He's got a bit of mongrel about him. Plays with that passion, plays a bit of white line fever. We love to see it at WAFL level. As
for South Fremantle, I won't say it was back to square one from that round 1 loss a few weeks ago against East Perth, but I think that was the way it was. They just couldn't mount a challenge after half-time. They'd only kicked 3 goals in the first half, 3 in the second, and they just couldn't get enough supply to that forward line, even though Winder, Parker and Hayden Schloith racked up the disposals as they have gone on a consistent basis. They just weren't as effective.
Yeah, well, they actually led the disposal count by 15, just looking at the stats. So
it doesn't mean anything if you lead a disposal count. If you're not efficient and you don't make your impact towards your forward line, then it doesn't mean a lot.
Yeah, and they'll have to cover. We'll speak on Thursday about the Derby, but you're going to have a Schloith going out. That's going to test their depth even more so.
Right.
So I agree. I don't think it's necessarily back to step one, but potentially a bit of a reality check. Okay, hang on, boys. We're not just a final certainty just yet.
Absolutely, and of course they've got East Fremantle. They've beaten them 14 of the last 15 times ahead of that WA Day Derby on Monday. We'll preview that game on Thursday. But Pure Thunder, the talk of the WAFL, on top of the ladder, winners by over 40 points. Let's go now to East Perth and Subiaco, and the game looked pretty close until after three-quarter time. East Perth just kicked away, running out winners 12-11 to 8-11 at the margin, 4 goals over there at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. And again, East Perth's depth in midfield told the story of the match. On the other side of the coin, Subiaco, their forward line missing that vital link.
Yeah, Ben Sokol's loss truly felt, wasn't it? Yeah, Royals, they wrapped it up in the last quarter. It took their time to do so, but eventually got there. And through Schumacher and Jones, I thought that was supreme.
That was a great combination. Schumacher, 29 possessions. Scotty Jones, 11 possessions, 54 hitouts. And just outstanding. Took Subiaco's ruckman to the cleaners.
I think that was always going to be the concern, to be honest. Cody Eaton, he was probably always under threat, as most rucks are, to be honest, in the WAFL competition.
Well, especially now with, of course, Clark, their big ruckman, having left the club at the end of last year. Subiaco, they're obviously very short on ruckman. They're still struggling to find that premier ruckman that can take it to the best in the competition. And Cody Eaton, on this day, he's not a bad ruckman, but he was well out of his depth.
Yeah, he'll be better for it.
He will. It's a learning experience, to take on the likes of Scott Jones. Yeah, he was dominated all day in that contest, in the ruck contest, but it's going to be a good learning experience for him in the future as Subiaco's future dominant ruckman.
Yeah, the Royals just looked like they ran over the top, to be honest, in that last quarter. A couple of skill errors in the back 50 for the Lions, but I'll tell you what, how about Darcy Craven?
Oh.
And he just looks so unfazed when he's doing it.
Yeah.
He just looks so casual, just like he's out there, WAFL footy, league footy. This is no big deal.
Yeah, he just takes the mark, he just goes in, sticks the landing on his go, and he just goes, okay, all right, and then give it off to his teammate. Unbelievable mark, and a hell of a call from Mark Reddings too. I mean, that's definitely a mark of the year contender.
It is late in the game, and so humble as well. Kicked a nice snap. So yeah, his transition from Colts to league footy in a limited space of time, you wouldn't know it. It's
been outstanding, Darcy Craven. I reckon he's going to be a star of the future for East Perth and all round the AFL system, maybe, if he gets picked up in, maybe a year or two from now. He's still got a lot to learn, obviously, being only a young man making the transition from Colts to league in such a quick space of time. But he has got what it takes. You could bet that.
Solid head on his shoulders, the boy from Bridgetown.
Absolutely. Shout out to the folk in Bridgetown as well, producing some great talent over there. Also, you have the likes of Hamish Brayshaw, Harrison McCready, Mitchell Crowden. They didn't get as much of the ball, but they were effective.
Hamish Brayshaw, we've said it, continuously, but it's amazing, they're doing it not without him because he's still out there. He is still contributing, but he probably is yet to have a dominant performance. But he won't be fazed by that.
No, he won't. I mean, yeah, he's had an interrupted pre-season, and he hasn't been as dominant as he was last year when he had a great season, got the Sandover medal. But I think he's more about the team. He's more of a team player than he is an individual player. I mean, that's been that way throughout his career, and that's such a good thing to have, no matter if you're a co-captain or, just one of the members of the team.
Yeah, well, especially now that he's, got those individual accolades as well, not that he was aspiring for those individual accolades, but, he's got something else to play for, I guess, and he's a Sandover medalist, so credit to him. And, I guess Subiaco probably felt the hurt a bit with Gus Stewart's injury as well, half-time, crucial defender in their back half, probably just impacted them and, had to reshuffle a bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of reshuffling for their forward line and their defensive structures as well, because obviously with Stewart's injury, as well as Ben Sokol not playing, obviously being injured in the state game, but also it really forced the midfield to rethink a lot. And even though Greg Clark and Luke Foley played their roles well, so did Liam Hickmott, they just weren't able to create as much forward line penetration, especially in that last quarter when they still had a chance.
Yeah, midfield looked better than Brewers. Greg Clark just threw it all out there, but did his best. But 2 wins now for Subiaco. You don't want to ride off the lines, but it is hard to see how they can get
Even
back.
Though the competition's pretty open still, especially the bottom half of the ladder, it is going to be hard. It's going to be very, very hard. They got a rampaging Swan Districts next up, who had a great win over West Perth. We'll talk about that game in moments. But 24-point winners, East Perth over Subiaco. They maintain their top 2 spot on the ladder. What about this 4th game at Revo Fitness Stadium on a neutral ground in what was unpredictable conditions between East Fremantle and Perth? And East Fremantle, they struggled to put Perth away, but they still got there. 11-11, 77 to 10-13, 73. 4-point contest, a cracking game considering the conditions. But I tell you what, if that game had been played for another minute and a half, Perth would have snatched that because they were able to penetrate the forward line repeatedly. And East Fremantle's back line, to their credit, worked overtime to make sure that they repelled every single entry inside that forward 50. They had to clear as quickly as possible to chew up the clock, and they did that. So great job by East Fremantle's back line in those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, you train those sort of things and, works within a match situation. Credit to Perth, they kept in touch all afternoon. I think, looking at this game, some people, including myself, probably thought East Fremantle should really win convincingly. So credit to Perth, 4 points. I know a loss is still a loss.
It's a sign that they can take it to finals contenders when their players are utilised properly.
Yeah, Sam Stubbs back to his best. I mean, it wasn't too long ago we were sitting here, sort of saying what's happened to him. It was not that long ago. He was training with Fremantle, trying to get a spot on their list, and apart from the 5-goal bag that we saw on the weekend, we were wondering what happened. So can he build off that now? And if he can, then Perth, their chances of winning games are going to increase significantly.
Absolutely. And I think Sam Stubbs being utilised full-time up forward is one big step. I mean, we saw him play a little bit of midfield, wasn't the same player. But when he got that full forward position, full-time, kicked that bag of 5 goals 3, I thought this is the true Sam Stubbs. A spectacular goal-kicking machine, can take those marks, and he took some very good marks inside that forward 50, offering great leads. When he's on song, up forward, he can sing a very good song. And Sam Stubbs, he sung a good one despite the team's result.
Yeah, loves the celebration as well, doesn't he? There was some good celebrations in this game. Blaine Boakhurst as well on his return.
Yeah, Blaine Boakhurst, first game since round 16, 2022 Sandover medalist returning from a major ACL injury. 18 disposals, 3 goals. Some good numbers considering that he hadn't played league for almost 2 years.
Yeah, well, he's never lost it, has he?
Nah.
So, yeah, showing his experience and
his impact as well. I mean, impact in both midfield and in the forward line, he delivered, along with Milan Murdoch.
I reckon it helped having a good stint in the reserves for Blaine Boakhurst. Wasn't rushed back into it.
That's right.
I guess it's a reflection of how strong, the Sharks are. Just being like, we can cover for you in the meantime. When you come back, you're going to deliver in spades, as he did.
Yeah, he certainly did. Blaine Boakhurst, Milan Murdoch as well. Bryn Teakle in the ruck. I'd have to say it wasn't his best performance in the ruck. I think Josh Edwards got the better of him in that ruck contest, especially when Perth were able to get a couple of those centre clearances at the start of the game and penetrate their forward line. So Teakle, I think, was beaten on this occasion by Edwards. He had a great game in the ruck, did Edwards, for Perth.
That'll be a confidence booster for him because he's, had to shoulder a lot of the ruck work. Josh Edwards is only a young man. So, against someone like Teakle, who, by all reports, might not even be in the WAFL competition in a day's time, that's going to do wonders for...
Or Murdoch as well, possibly, with the mid-season draft being tomorrow.
It will be, yeah. It could leave a hole, but, let's say it does. Still got guys like Fraser Turner, 22 disposals. Jack Cleaver, been really impressed with him, 22 disposals.
Jared Jansen as well.
Jared Jansen. These guys with a halfback flank, run and carry is so vital in this WAFL competition.
Don't forget Kyle Baskerville, the vice-captain.
Yeah, spoke to him earlier in the year as well. His leadership is second to none, so... Yeah, even, you can go through the whole list, really, make a case of how important all these guys are. Lennon Marlin, Jed Hagan,
Marlin
Maguire.
was really good. Maguire as well. Lennon Marlin down back, he played magnificently. You can make a case, for a couple of the Perth players as well that can provide some valuable contributions as well. Riley Wills, I thought he had a serviceable debut. He didn't play all the minutes in the game, but very serviceable, saw plenty of the football, and he'll have more game time, no doubt about that, in the league squad. Hopefully, he'll be selected for that Sunday game against the West Coast Eagles up in Northam. Corey Byrne, 25, Matty Taylor, 24, and Austin Davis, good run and carry through midfield, 25 disposals. Whenever he got the ball in his hand, he was just able to charge through the corridor and really give Perth a lot of opportunity inside that forward 50 through his supply and delivery.
Quick player, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's got some wheels on him.
Certainly does.
Sure.
That's wheels like a Lamborghini, mate. That's how quick he is. But a great game it was over at Revo Fitness Stadium. East Fremantle just getting up by 4 points. What about this final game? This one was an absolute cracker up at Steel Blue Oval. Swan Districts and West Perth play a couple of good ones over there, don't they? But Swan Districts, they were 35 points down early in the game, but they came back with tremendous gusto to sink West Perth by 13 points, 13-9 to 10-14. This win is, again, another character-building one for Swan Districts. We said a couple of weeks ago when they beat Claremont, when the game was in the balance, they were finally able to sow the seeds of doubt. They were able to do so again, but take it tenfold. So that could be a win that may set up the Swans' charge into the 5 and into the finals in September.
Yeah, and we crossed paths doing our commentary duties on the weekend, and I don't know, I don't want to say you gave it to me for myself tipping Swan Districts because West Perth looked to have that game in the bag.
I cannot believe that.
I said, how about those Swannies, mate? They come back at home. I did tip them. I was on the fence, but I tipped them basically home ground advantage, turning Steel Blue into a fortress.
And their record against West Perth at home as well. That was another thing that fell in their favour. I'm not to say that's a bad thing as well, but obviously West Perth, they came to this game needing a big win as well to further boost their chances of making the 5. They got off to a tremendous start, but how they let it slip, West Perth cannot let these leads slip. It was unacceptable, that second half, honestly. I mean, they had a lot of players down in that second half, and unfortunately for West Perth, it got worse when Scotty Nelson went down with a broken leg, so he won't play for some time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. Wish him all the best in recovery, but... complacency, is that where you draw it back? Actually,
I would think so. I would think so.
A bit ahead of yourself. I mean, Jai Childcraft probably put a blanket over Aaron Black.
He did.
That was an interesting battle.
He blanketed Aaron Black completely in that second half. I mean, his role as a midfielder is certainly blossoming. 35 disposals, 6 marks, 5 tackles, 6 inside 50s. But his impact around the contest, really absolutely magnificent. You can't measure that.
You can't, yeah. He's been absolutely fantastic since coming over to the WAFL competition. And yeah, the Swans, Tommy Edwards was really big turnaround for them.
4 goals, 2 from 21 touches.
Yeah, that's. He was one of my tips for the Bernie Naylor. So.
Well, he's looking the goods now. He's back in form. Lee Coleman as well. He was a big blow from that game. He got concussed and he won't play for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be tough on them. But I was impressed by, the young Swan Districts players coming through as well. Guys like Max Chipper, these guys.
Jeb O'Donoghue as well.
Yep, absolutely. Lewis Tester.
And Nick Rokar, the former South Australian, just continues to rack them up as well.
They're getting better each time. That synergy is really coming together because these guys have come from a bit everywhere. Some guys are coming through Colts, recruits. It can take a while for them to gel on the field like they did on the weekend in the second half particularly.
Yeah, that second half, everything just clicked for Swan Districts when they really struggled to create anything in that first half. 7-10 to 4-6 West Perth led at half-time. And then all of a sudden, a 9-goal to 3 second half. A complete turnaround for the Swans. And it was all down to guys like Matty Germs in the ruck as well. Even though his follow-up work wasn't as impactful, his 40 hit-outs were absolutely vital for supply for the likes of Rokar, Pina, also Aidan Clark and William Breedy as well. Aidan Clark, he turned in a good last quarter as well. And Jackson McLaughlin, 24 disposals as well. While for West Perth, that sense of complacency, they just didn't... They took their foot off the gas in that second half, and you can't do that. When you're 35 points up, regardless of who you are and regardless of the opposition, if you get off to a great start in the first half, you lose the game in the second half. You've completely wasted 60 minutes of hard work, all for 60 minutes of nothing.
Yeah, and I think maybe, the West Perth of old, we think we got this in the bag. A couple of years ago, it might have worked for them, but... Not now. It's so tight. Every year we say it's getting tighter and tighter. And, you could literally be 0. whatever percent you want off and it'll cost you.
And you look at the team stats as well. Swan District second half led them to winning most of them. When you think about it, 53 to 24 hitouts, they had 28 more handballs and they had 18 more kicks as well. That's how strong Swan Districts were in that second half.
Yeah, it's a credit to the coaching staff. I know, Prune has been, somewhat under pressure, I guess, but he's really coming into his own now, making this team his own. It looks like there's a lot of trust around the group and everyone's happy to be there. So, yes, it's promising signs for Swans. I think they should be really, really happy with that win and an eye on the top 5 finals. It's not out of the question.
No doubt the Swans will be up and about. Winners by 13 points over West Perth. Of course, WA Day, Active Day, WA Day rounds a huge weekend. Monday, the big derby, the Freo Derby, is on Channel 7. Check this out.
It's WA's oldest footy rivalry on the state's biggest day as South Fremantle take on East Fremantle in the original derby out west. State League footy at its best as the Bulldogs and Sharks go head-to-head on WA Day Monday. Catch it live and free on 7 in WA and around the country on 7+.
Yes, from 1:10 on Monday, and an extended pre-game from 12:30, by the way, for viewers on Channel 7, so you can check that out as well. To the ladder, it looks like this after round 8. Let's pop it up. Peel Thunder still holding top spot on the ladder ahead of East Perth. Then South Fremantle in third. Rounding out the 5 is East Fremantle and Swan Districts. West Perth remain on 12 points, but got bundled out of the 5 by Swan Districts on percentage. Then it's Claremont, Subiaco, Perth, and the West Coast Eagles. That bottom 4 on 8 points. So it's still a very open competition, and 4th to 6th on 12 points as well. So it's still anybody's fight for a spot in the finals.
Yeah, Claremont and Subiaco 7th and 8th is a site we haven't seen too regularly in recent years. So it just shows that some of those teams are improving, on the rebuild coming up. And it's just great to see that the bottom place team's still on 8 points, the 10th and 7th and 6th, there's only no game between them.
No doubt about it. And it's going to get even more interesting in round 9. Let's get to the votes. The Player of the Year votes for round 8. 1 vote, Zane True of the West Coast Eagles. Again, what does he have to do to get to an AFL game? He was magnificent once more. 2 votes, East Perth's Angus Schumacher. Definitely one of his best games of the season. Just continues to rack up the disposals and create impact from the midfield rotation. 3 votes, Paddy Voss from Peel Thunder. 5 goals, great performance from him. Little bit stiff to miss out on the top votes. He was definitely on the radar. 4 votes from Swan Districts, Jai Shalcraft, just blossoming in midfield. And he's not afraid to put his body on the line as well. He plays with that extra aggressive gusto, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He could be a standard of a favourite, to be honest.
Possibly, maybe a bolt from the blue. We didn't expect him to maybe poll votes at this time, the top rank at this time of the year.
We didn't, and yeah, Schumacher, just going back on your 2 votes there, how fitting he kicked the goal to finish it off on the siren as well. So I thought that was iconic for the day.
Magnificent stuff. A great moment for Schumacher and for East Perth. And now, this one may cause some opinions on the socials, but there are reasons why. The Around the Waffle top gun of round 8 from a losing team, but a great effort from the Demons forward, Sam Stubbs. He gets the 5 votes this week. That was the true Sam Stubbs that everyone wanted to see. When he's utilised up forward full time, can take those good marks, get away from his opponents easily. He's got great leg speed. And when he's in that forward 50 and can get away from his opponents with the leg speed he's got, and he's able to convert, you've got yourself a winner right there.
The stubber of old, hey? Almost
absolutely.
Back to the future. Yeah, no issues from my end, to be honest. 5 votes. A bag of 5 is a bag of 5, and we got 2 bags of 5 in the votes with Stubbs and Voss respectively.
Magnificent stuff. Every player from every area gets all the love in the Around the Waffle Player of the Year votes. Let's pop up the leaderboard after 8 rounds of competition. It's still Bryn Teakle in the lead. Will he remain in the Waffle? Of course, that remains to be seen in the mid-season draft tomorrow. Isaiah Winder remains in second on 7 votes alongside East Perth's Mitchell Crowden. Sam Stubbs into the top 4 with 5 votes. Joining him on 5 is Hayden Schloith, Oliver Eastland, Jacob Blight, Jonathan Marsh, and Jacob Caniglio. And Jai Shalcraft, with his 4 votes, gets into the top 10. 34 players, Ethan, in total have polled votes in the Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's a good reflection of how many good players there are, and not too many one-trick ponies. It's so open, we sit here and be like, we're not really clear on who's going to take it out this year, which is what we want. We want a nice, even vote count, if you like.
No doubt about it. Harder to pick than a broken nose is Player of the Year votes. But what's not hard is getting your WAFL merchandise. Introducing the WAFL Merch Shop, your ultimate destination for all things WAFL. From jerseys to scarves to caps, show your support for the WAFL in style. Grab exclusive merchandise now and gear up to cheer louder than ever before. Visit shop.wafl.com.au today and let your passion shine. How good is the Waffle Shop? I got my WAFL men's shirt the other day, and it has to be said, it is absolutely magnificent. So viewers, check it out, shop.wafl.com.au.
Yeah, showcase that maybe on WA Day, mate.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd love to do that on WA Day, maybe in the Derby, doing the game on Monday, so it's going to be incredibly exciting. That does it for today's edition of Around the Waffle. Tune in on Thursday. Massive preview of the WA Day round. Mark Reddings is going to join Ethan Roth and yours truly in the studio. And, of course, the tips for the big games as well. The Saturday games, 2 of them on Saturday, 1 in Northam on Sunday, and then, of course, the main event, the 2 derbies. Ethan, great job from you. I'll see you Thursday.
Yep, great skate. See you then.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's going to get electrified on Thursday, on Thursday's edition of Around the Waffle. We look forward to your company then.